Hello, dear viewers. Today we invite you to hop into our time machine and join us on a journey to the captivating fashion world of the 1950s. Are you ready? In February 1947, Christian Dior introduced his revolutionary new look to the fashion world. This new style offered us a world filled with elegant, nipped-in waists and full skirts. In the early 1950s, women's fashion was heavily influenced by this feminine silhouette, and its impact was felt throughout the decade. By the mid-19 1950s, the feminine lines introduced by Dior began to evolve into straighter and slimmer silhouettes. Designers like Givenchy, Balenciaga, and Charles James brought a fresh breath of air to fashion with their innovative cuts and experimental designs. Balenciaga's high-waisted chemise dresses, introduced in 1957, and Chanel's straight-cut suits created a new aesthetic that emphasized women's natural shapes. The 1950s were a time of boldness, not only in cuts, but also in prints and colors. P motifs, bright patterned dresses, and playful colors created a vibrant playground in fashion. This liveliness was evident in everything from street style to evening wear. Although haute couture was in the spotlight, sportswear also held its ground in the 1950s. Claire McCardell's comfortable and chic wrap-over dresses and pedal-pusher sets were hugely popular among young women. Additionally, the famous poodle skirts paired with snug-knitted twin sets reflected the era's approach to casual yet stylish everyday wear. Another significant aspect of 1950s fashion was the cocktail dress. These dresses, designed for the newly popular cocktail parties, were somewhere between day wear and evening gowns. Elegant and embellished, these dresses ensured women always looked impeccable. Dior's ornate evening gowns and strapless tops were among the most coveted evening attire of this period. In the 1950s, it was almost mandatory for women to look flawless at all times of the day. Perfectly styled hair, spotless makeup, and coordinated accessories were essential. This reflected the post-war longing for luxury and elegance. And of course, Chanel's iconic black-toed shoes entered the fashion scene at the end of this decade. Though While women's fashion in the 1950s celebrated formality and elegance, men's fashion began to embrace a new informality never seen before. Young men, in particular, were at the forefront of this change, driving the so-called youth culture of the decade. This was the era when working-class youth began to influence fashion trends significantly. In post-war Britain, tailors on Savile Row introduced the slim-cut suit with velvet collars, initially intended for the upper class. However, young working-class men, nicknamed teddy boys, adopted and adapted this style to make it their own. These young rebels, with their narrow trousers, velvet-collared jackets, and greased-back quiffs, symbolized a shift in fashion and culture. James Laver captures this transformation perfectly. What was important in this development was not the adoption by the working class of an upper-class style, but the fact that young men from poor backgrounds could now afford relatively expensive clothes and accessories and had the confidence to make them part of their own distinctive style. Despite the rise of youth culture and casual styles, formal wear for men maintained its classic lines. Suits continued to feature the baggy shape that had begun in the 1940s, and skinny ties gained prominence. However, the biggest change in men's formal wear was the introduction of color. Bright shirts, colorful tuxedo accessories, and even the vibrant Hawaiian shirt became popular options for men throughout the decade. Even in day wear, men began to embrace more color. The Hawaiian shirt, first seen in the late 1940s, continued to be a popular choice throughout the 1950s. Advertisements for bright yellow arrow shirts and other colorful garments showcased the decade's shift towards a more vibrant and diverse palette in men's fashion. So there you have it, dear viewers, a journey through the elegant and innovative world of 1950s women's and men's fashion. See you in our next video. Stay fashionable, stay stylish.